Hello guys, welcome to the movie recap review. Happy watching.
I think they're waving at me.
Oh, me?
Yeah, quick, run before they turn into villains.
At the beginning of the film, Tindaro reveals that he used to be a thief. Fearing punishment and dishonor, he decided to become an artist instead. He enjoys painting animals, nuns, and angels, but his life takes a turn when the plague arrives in Italy. Tindaro then shares the story of Lorenzo, who loses a card game to Gerbino. Following his loss, Lorenzo flees from Gerbino. Despite Gerbino's attempts to catch him, Lorenzo proves to be an adept escape artist, confidently declaring that Gerbino will never catch him. Lorenzo is in love with Pampania, a wealthy but discerning girl. After losing a card game to Gerbino, Lorenzo's friends inform him that his house is now surrounded by Gerbino. Lorenzo then decides to leave the city. Meanwhile, Tindaro discovers that his priest has passed away, meaning he will no longer receive any money. He starts hearing voices in his head and contemplates becoming a priest himself, tempted by the wealth, power, and the allure of beautiful nuns that come with the position. The film then introduces Gerbino, whom Tindaro describes as looking like a stallion, though rumors suggest his virility is a thing of the past. Pampania, now orphaned, is pressured to marry the Russian Count Dzierżynski. Gerbino claims that before his death, his father approved of Pampania marrying him instead. Later, Lorenzo flees from Gerbino's guards on horseback. Along the way, he meets a worker who reveals he is transporting a body from the Bleeding Heart Monastery. The worker shares that it is the monastery's gardener, whose ultimate secret was being deaf and dumb. Lorenzo hides in a tree to evade the bandits, but he falls and loses consciousness. 4 nuns find him and, believing him to be an angel sent from heaven, take him to the monastery. They discuss his appearance, admiring his beautiful lips and hair. One nun suggests undressing him to check for wounds. She lifts his shirt, kisses his stomach, and then proposes kissing his lips. Lorenzo, aware of everything, stays silent. When the Mother Superior arrives, the nuns tell her they believe Lorenzo is deaf and dumb. She is pleased, thinking they now have a new gardener, and suggests they send him for a bath. The nuns visit Lorenzo and engage in behavior that is very uncommon for them. Later, Pampania invites her friends to her wedding. Filomena boasts about her innocence, prompting Alyssa to remark that not everyone is as innocent as Filomena thinks. They discuss Pampania's love for Lorenzo, and Gerbino overhears them. Enraged, he threatens her friends, which Tindaro also hears. Once again, Tindaro hears voices in his head and confronts Gerbino, asking him to leave the holy place. Gerbino wants to punish Tindaro for his rudeness, but Tindaro shocks himself by asking when Gerbino last confessed. This encounter solidifies Tindaro's decision to become a priest. Filomena arranges a carriage for their trip to the wedding. When Alyssa inquires about it, Filomena explains that it belongs to her uncle Bruno. Though not very smart, Bruno is notably innocent, and he prides himself on maintaining his purity. Alyssa then mentions that Tindaro will be their priest. Pampania arrives at the monastery to preserve her virginity, unaware of her surroundings. Count Dzierżynski arrives and mistakes Gerbino for Pampania's father. Gerbino rudely corrects him, claiming to be Pampania's future husband. They exchange threats, forcing the Count to leave the castle. The Count meets the pastor, who tells him that Pampania will be waiting for him at the country villa and hands him a letter from her. Meanwhile, 2 nuns approach Lorenzo, asking him to give them the same attention he gave to the other nuns. They begin to undress, and Lorenzo happily complies. At the same time, Tindaro departs with Bruno. Tindaro complains about Bruno's tendency to spoil the air, while Filomena once again boasts about her virginity. Filomena talks about her friend, Dionio, who is supposedly also innocent, though Alyssa notes he has been acting strangely lately. Later, Dionio and his friend see 2 girls beckoning to them. Dionio tells his friend to ask what they want. The girls offer them milk and bread, leading the boys to chase them to a barn. Inside, the girls show them a cow, claiming it as the source of the milk. Filomena hears the commotion from the barn. When she enters, she sees the boys and girls doing something but not milking the cow. On this day, the nuns, along with Pampania, visit Lorenzo to give him some water. However, when Pampania does this, she pours water over his head and tells him to drown. Later, Father Tindaro decides to leave Filomena. He advises her that there's nothing wrong with a kiss and then departs. The next day, Pampinea visits Lorenzo again. She blindfolds him, confesses that she dreams about him, and kisses him, then departs. Meanwhile, Diano goes to the forest and Filomena follows him. She comforts him, kisses him lightly, and tells him that he will soon get what he wants from her. She continues to kiss him repeatedly, but suddenly Diano starts to twitch. At this moment, bandits appear and take them captive. That evening, the bandit leader approaches the girls and invites them to work for him. Elissa comments on his handsomeness and passion, proposing a cunning solution. She goes to the leader's room and begins to dance for him. When she returns, she reports that it was boring. He only wanted her to dance and nothing more. The girls then devise a plan to steal the key from the bandits. They trick the bandits into taking off their pants, which leads to a fight breaking out. During the chaos, the girls manage to escape. As they flee, they encounter the bandit leader. However, Bruno intervenes and eliminates him, ensuring their safety. The next day, Pampinea needs to leave the monastery, but don't want to leave Lorenzo in the hands of the nuns. She tells Mother Nun that she heard Lorenzo singing in the garden and that he has a very pleasant voice. And then she leaves. The Mother Nun visits the sleeping Lorenzo and whispers in his ear that the butcher has come to take out his tongue. Startled, he jumps up and apologizes, but she chases him out of the monastery. Meanwhile, Count Dzierżynski escapes from Gerbino's men. He reaches a waterfall to drink and notices Elissa floating in the water. Surprised, he tries to determine if she is a sorceress. The Count introduces himself and remarks that if she is not Pampinea, it will be a miracle, as she is the most beautiful girl in the world. Elissa emerges from the water, and they kiss. Pampinea passes the monastery and meets Lorenzo. She tells him she is going to her wedding, and Lorenzo decides to accompany her. Meanwhile, Tindaro approaches the monastery, commenting on the incomparable passion of the woman within. He meets her and declares his intention to serve and pray. She takes him into a room and suggests they do some unusual things. As Lorenzo and Pampinea walk together, Lorenzo confesses that he is in love with a girl who kissed him and can't forget her. Pampinea offers to refresh his memory, but at that moment, Gerbino arrives and attacks Lorenzo. Pampinea intervenes, declaring that if Gerbino harms Lorenzo, she will never marry him. She proposes a condition. She will marry Gerbino only if he lets Lorenzo go. Gerbino agrees to Pampinea's condition and announces that the wedding will happen soon. Meanwhile, Tindaro arrives at the castle. Pampinea asks him to stall for time before the wedding. Lorenzo, escorted by the guards to the forest, learns that Gerbino has ordered his execution. Though skeptical at first, Lorenzo eventually eliminates both guards. He then encounters Count Dzierżynski, who is also headed to Pampinea. Back at the castle, Tindaro stretches out the wedding preparations as long as possible, slowly pouring wine for the guests to taste. Gerbino, growing impatient, threatens Tindaro, who then declares that they are already married. At this moment, the Count arrives and shoots at Gerbino. Lorenzo also arrives and takes Pampinea with him. A fight ensues between the Count and Gerbino, but Lorenzo intervenes. The Count warns that if he kills Gerbino, he will also have to kill Lorenzo. They decide to settle the matter by tossing a coin, and Lorenzo wins. Gerbino hesitates to approach the well, but the Count pushes him towards it. As they fight, Lorenzo offers Gerbino a choice. He might survive if he jumps into the deep well. Instead, Gerbino attacks Lorenzo and ends up falling into the well himself. The Count praises Lorenzo, but nearly pushes him into the abyss. Just then, Pampinea arrives, and the Count asks her to marry him. At this moment, Elissa appears, the one he truly loves. Pampinea runs after Lorenzo and kisses him, and he remembers that she was the one who kissed him in the monastery. A wedding ensues, and everyone kisses. Tindaro announces that he is returning to the monastery where the angel, on whom he left his painting, is waiting for him.
And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.